Hi there, my name is Julie Grimm. I'm a spiritual guide in the Modern Mystery School. I study and teach in the lineage of King Solomon, and I serve as an energy healer and meditation teacher in that same lineage as well. I work with a lot of people who either consider themselves to be empaths or who are highly sensitive individuals. Today's climate with coronavirus and the recent police killings and protests in Minnesota have created a world of fear and chaos, anger, hurt, pain, grief. This is all coming up for the collective as humanity in each of our respective cities and towns. And if you're at all sensitive to those energies, it can be quite overwhelming. Not only might you be dealing with your own feelings of fear and grief, your own internal process with all that's happening, but now you're also being inundated with these energies that are present within the collective psyche of humanity, and then in your own individual towns to some lesser or greater degree. So fear is a huge one, but there's also a lot of grief. So much loss is happening right now as we speak. And of course there's anger in response to both that grief and the fear that we're now experiencing. So if you've been feeling maybe sluggish, apathetic, depressed, overburdened with these emotional states, maybe perhaps your own, but then also to some extent the external emotional states as well, I have some tips and tricks that can be really supportive for you right now. So first and foremost, you might already have some practices that you know support yourself. When you're somebody who's highly sensitive or an empath, you're going to be taking in and potentially even holding on to the emotional energy that you experience around you. So one thing that we really want to be clear with when we're an empath is releasing and letting go. It's okay to be sensitive, and it's actually a huge gift to be sensitive and receptive to those energies, but we want to make sure that we continue to allow it to flow through our energy structure and through our body. We don't want to hold on to it. We don't want to, in a way, identify with it. We don't want to take it on like yet another responsibility, yet another burden, something that we need to hold. That is not it at all. It's simply an emotion which is sending a message. We can say message received and then allow it to continue. So what are some ways, if we feel like we're holding on to that energy, that we can really give ourselves permission to release it and to let go? Breathing is huge. Sounds so simple, it is that simple. Especially if you're feeling grief, which is associated oftentimes with the lungs and the heart, or any sort of pain in the upper chest, restricted breath, any sort of sorrow, even anger and hatred can live right here. So we want to take long, deep breaths, potentially putting your hand on any tender spots that you feel called to put your hand on. And as you exhale out, just imagine that you're exhaling out that pain. And the crazy thing is that it really is that easy. Being an empath, one thing that you need to start to dial in on is where you're choosing to hold on, where you're choosing guilt, potentially shame, where you're choosing to hold on to those emotional states. Because, while maybe you can't choose to feel it or not, you can absolutely choose to hold or release. So we're gonna simply choose to release it. And we're gonna assist ourselves in that releasing process through our breath. Exhaling it out. Other great ways to support your energetic structure if you're feeling overwhelmed during these times. Taking salt baths are wonderful. Salt baths also help us release, but now down from our hips. So if we are holding shame potentially, or a lot of fear in our hips, a lot of emotional energy here, we can take a nice Epsom salt bath and focus exactly what we did here with our breath, but now focusing on our hips, making sure that we're really releasing out. We don't need to hold on to that fear. We felt it, we acknowledge that we feel it, and then we can just simply release it through our hips into the water and let that water take all of that energy away. Another great way to clear yourself and the space is sage, and also holy water if that's something that you have. So within the school that I study in, I can actually create holy water. There's holy water that I use regularly every day to clear the air. But sage will work really well as Palo Santo for that. I also teach a class, a 2-day intensive class, when we're allowed to do that, which is coming soon here in Boston, that is huge, huge for empathic people to reinforce their energy structure and start to pay attention to where they are choosing to take on other people's emotional energy that is not their responsibility. And once we have that discernment, we free up a huge amount of energy. The practices that I mentioned earlier will still always be there to support you and are huge regardless, but you will cease to take on nearly as much energy simply because you're not a victim to it anymore. You're now becoming at cause, and you can say, okay, I feel you, thank you for that message, and now I'm going to release you in that moment, versus carrying it for a few days until it stockpiles and it becomes overwhelming, and then you have to do these deeper processes. So if that is calling anybody, please reach out to me. Even if you're not in the Boston, Massachusetts area, please reach out to me, because I know many people throughout the United States and throughout the globe who teach that class. It is so important. I've thought to myself so many times during these crises, I don't know what other people are doing. If I did not have these tools, I would be in a terrible, terrible state. And as it is, I'm really doing okay. I have my tools to cleanse my energy, and this time and space has actually given me huge permission to process my own internal feelings rather than feel inundated by the external world. So if that calls out to you at all, if you'd like to learn more, it is such an empowering class. It is such a game changer for people who are sensitive. And it allows you to finally use your sensitivity as a gift rather than carry it as a burden. So please, if you're ready to make that shift, let me know. It's like such an honor to teach. So thank you guys so much. I hope that those tips and tricks helped you. I hope that you're doing okay. And if you need any guidance at all, if you feel called at all to reach out, please do. I am here for you. This is a very hard time for us collectively. I acknowledge that. And if there's any way at all that I can support you, please let me know. So much love and take care.